Hey everyone, Jeff McErlane here, and today I'm going to talk about how you can keep your hands healthy for as long as you possibly can as a guitar player. I'm being joined by the excellent Michelle Coil, who has a great channel called Virtual Hand Care. She's helped me quite a bit, and we have a cool interview coming up with her, and she's going to give us 3 specific things that you can do to warm up before you play and to keep your hands healthy and happy for as long as you possibly can. Today with me, I have Michelle Coil. I found Michelle when I was starting to have problems with my own hands, and I found her to be a spectacular resource for me when I was on the road, even at home, doing the exercises that she gave, which are all the exercises that my physical therapist gave me, but I found the motivation of working with her virtually, even not in person, just watching the videos, made a big difference. So thank you, and here's Michelle.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle. I'll do a quick intro. I'm an occupational therapist and a certified hand therapist. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I know a thing or two about the hand. So hopefully you'll learn some things from me today. And I'm hoping to share 3 tips to help you play more pain-free at your guitar. And even if you don't have pain, maybe you'll learn some tips that you can use to prevent pain from settling in, and so that you can play your instrument for a long time, for however forever, hopefully.
It's great. So what I'm going to do is just let you do your thing because you prepared something really great for us today. So I'm just going to let you take the full screen and do your thing, and thank you.
So like I said, I'm going to share 3 tips to help you play guitar more pain-free. So my first tip is exercise. So I know a lot of people think exercise, duh. I know I have to move, but within exercise, there's several layers to exercise, and that's physical activity, that's stretching, and that's strengthening. And so I usually always recommend for exercise doing some type of physical activity before you are even warming up at your instrument. So trying to incorporate, whether it's anything that feels that you like to do, walking, anything that gets the heart rate up, swimming, biking, yoga, whatever you can do to increase your heart rate. And the reason for that is because when you increase your heart rate, your heart is pumping more blood flow to your extremities. So your hands, your arms, your legs, everything starts, you get more circulation, more blood flow. And it's a really good way to warm up your hands without actually warming up your hands, right? So I always recommend some type of physical activity before you play your instrument. So it's a physical warm-up before you even go into your musical warm-up. Can be very helpful. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be for 15 or even 20 minutes. A couple times a day can be helpful. And then, of course, stretching is a big part of exercise as well. And even within stretching, there's different types of stretching. So there's dynamic stretching, which is more active movement and moving through full ranges of motion just for shorter bursts of time. You're not staying there for a longer length of time. But then there's static type of stretching that can also be beneficial. And that's more where you might be familiar with more of staying in that position, like stretching out your wrist or your fingers and you're staying there for a longer length of time. That's more static stretching, but both really can be very helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of stretches that you can do, both dynamic and as well as static. And then, of course, strengthening exercises. And I won't go into a ton of strengthening exercises just because when you are an instrumentalist or you play guitar, everybody kind of has a technique, and some people have a tendency to use certain muscle groups maybe a little bit more than others. And so I wouldn't necessarily want to give you a strengthening exercise that might over strengthen something that you already strengthen too much when you're playing guitar. So if you have a tendency to flex your wrist a lot or curl your fingers a lot, like I wouldn't want to give you a strengthening exercise, wrist curl, to reinforce that. So sometimes you having a more customized plan can can help with that. But let's pop back to stretching, because I feel like stretching is very beneficial to pretty much any kind of musician. And so one dynamic type of stretching routine that kind of goes along with the physical activity to get your heart rate up is just simply, standing, and I'll just kind of scoot back here a little bit, but just a simple exercise is just doing alternating overhead flexion exercises. So you're moving the shoulders kind of in a little bit of a faster way, but making sure you're going through that full range of motion, alternating back and forth. And again, you're using your larger muscle groups to do this, right? So you're pumping the shoulders again, which will help increase that blood flow down to your fingers and your hands without really having to do specific dynamic stretching to your fingers and your hand. And you can do 10 to 20, repetitions of those as well. And the other reason why that's helpful too is because that's kind of an opposite movement to what you might be used to doing when you're playing guitar too. So any kind of movement that you can do that gets you kind of out of that same position that you're in for a long period of time can be helpful. And then we'll go ahead and go into some static stretches that can be helpful for you. And I wanted to give you two specifically more for the fingers and the thumb. So I'm going to go ahead and stand, but the first one is more of what's called an intrinsic stretch. And so this one is going to help stretch out the muscles that are kind of deep into the hand. So those are muscles that sometimes can cramp when you're playing, that you might feel like sometimes you can't quite target those muscles, especially if you're playing for a long length of time. What can you do to help kind of get in between those fingers and help with some of that cramping and stiffness and warm those up? So the first exercise is the intrinsic exercise. And so you would do this one at a table. And so what you want to do is place all the fingers on a table. Then what you do is take like your first finger, your index finger, and you want to go ahead and just bend at the large knuckle. Hopefully everybody can see that, but my middle, my ring, and my small finger are on top of the table. And then I'm just lightly pushing forward and stretching the knuckle of my index finger while the rest of my finger is staying straight. And you could stay here for about 10 seconds, 20 seconds. You can do more of a long static hold type of stretch. And then what you would do is place that index finger back up on the table. And now go ahead and go to the middle finger. So hopefully you can see my middle finger is on the side of that table. And I'm stretching and lightly pushing in towards the table. And again, then you would do the ring finger, right? So stretching in. And then you can do the small finger, where hopefully you can see my small finger here is stretching. I've got the index, the middle, the ring finger. And then again, you would hold that for about 10 to 20 seconds. And you can do a couple of repetitions, again, through each of your fingers to help with that. And then you stretch out your thumb. Another great static stretch that I like to do to help target the thumb and your thumb web space. Again, at a table, place your thumb along the side of the edge of the table. So your whole thumb, this is going to be where the edge of the table is going to meet your thumb, okay? And then your fingers are all going to be on top of the table. And then what you do is you want to walk those fingers away from the thumb, okay? And as you've walked those fingers away, so those fingers are moving towards your small finger side, my web space is now getting stretched out. So it's another way to target the thumb web space. Just the other one can also target the web spaces in the fingers, the little muscles. And this one is great for targeting a very tight muscle that's on the inside of our thumb. that often wants to pull our thumb in and can kind of cramp, especially when you're pinching that pick a lot. So then again, so stretch. Again, you would want to hold those for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And then you would just walk back and you can rest for a few. And again, walk back and stretch out space.
Just a quick break right here. If you could like and subscribe to my channel, it would really help me out quite a bit. Most of the people who watch my videos do not actually subscribe. So if you could do that, that'd help out a lot. Also, as a way of saying thank you, I have a free Arpeggios Unlocked ebook and mini course, and you can get that using the link above or below. I'm going to take you through how you can work through all of your arpeggios in a methodical, simple way. So please check that out on me using the link above or below. Quick question. So for people who have, will this help with arthritic situations that people have early or with arthritis?
Yes, definitely. Yes. So if you have, they're a great way to first kind of address the stiffness. So if you have arthritis, you probably have some joints that are stiff. And so that's a great way to help address any kind of stiffness before you start to play, because as you know, it's kind of hard to play if you're stiff, right? So you definitely want to, it's really to help keep those joints mobile. And the thumb one is especially is very good for thumb arthritis because for thumb arthritis, and I'm talking about base of the thumb arthritis. So right down here where it's very common, we get that kind of sharp, sharp pain. And there's a tight muscle right in here that wants to kind of pull us in, like I said, and that can lead to an imbalance of what's happening in the thumb if you let that tight muscle continue to be strong and pull in. And like I said, that's especially true for those for the picking hand too, because we're constantly pinching something very small, and that causes us to kind of collapse that thumb. And so this muscle does a great job at keeping that pinch, but what it does is the load then gets transferred down to the thumb. That might be a little more, than what most people want to know about the thumb, but
I'm fascinated because
why.
so also with the fretting hand too, as well, you're squeezing a lot, and yeah, so that's going to be a big thing. Yeah.
Right. And you're pushing even a lot of times pushing maybe even into, the neck. And so that can load that base of that thumb quite a bit. So definitely, and something has to keep you stable, right? Your thumb is wanting to stay stable and do that task. So, like I said, that muscle in there will just kick in and be like, okay, let's do this thing. And over time, it just causes this imbalance that starts to happen in the thumb and can lead to more arthritis happening.
Now, one thing you mentioned earlier was that taking breaks. I think we might have talked as prior to the actual recording of the importance of taking breaks when you're practicing. And I'd love if you could talk a
Yes.
little bit about that.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, my second tip to help you play longer and more pain-free is taking frequent rest breaks. And ideally, in an ideal world, really, I know that's not always the case for everybody in every situation, but about 15-minute breaks every hour is ideal. And that's really like that with any kind of activity that you might do for a long length of time, even if you're typing, so if you're working 8 hours and you're typing a lot and then you go and play guitar for a long time, right? Like you're doing prolonged activities with the hands. And so giving yourself about 15-minute breaks every hour is ideal. Again, I know you can't always do that, but if you can even just reduce your total playing time to about 4 to 6 hours, it can really help with that fatigue that starts settling in. And I know I'd mentioned I was going to get just a little nerdy because there is like a reason why.
Oh, everybody here is a nerd, so please go ahead.
Good. Fit right in. So really the reason why there's a physiological reason why, because the muscles in your hands are different. They are what's called fast twitch fiber muscles. Those are different types of muscles than like larger muscles that are like in your shoulder or in your leg. Those muscles have less circulation in them. That's why too your hands get cold a lot, right? We don't have as much of that circulation. But with that, they're great for short bursts of movement, right? Like opening that garage door, opening that can, that car door, opening the can of pickles, and doing all those quick things that our hand is great to do, very fine, intricate movements, but not really made for more prolonged, long-term type of use. And so that's why over time our hands can, when you're constantly doing things for a long length of time and repetition, those muscles start contracting, they start getting very tight, then they start getting stiff. And that's kind of where you can start getting some of that hand pain. So taking breaks can help, counteract that, and just help more long-term, definitely.
So thank you. That's great. And a question is, I have some early arthritic issues, and whereas it's pretty early on, and I just want to let people know the things that I didn't really quite know or understand, that you can, if you're active about it, prolong how long, you can push it back. You can sort of freeze it in its tracks to a certain extent if you're aware. So,
yeah.
I mean, I know there's no cure, but it doesn't necessarily have to get worse at a quick pace, So,
right. Yeah, you can definitely slow down the progression of the arthritis. You can prevent it from worsening. You can't undo what's there, unfortunately. There's no magic pill that just poof makes it go away, but you definitely can prevent it from worsening by doing things like strengthening the muscles that surround that arthritic joint, by taking breaks from those positions that are a little more aggravating on those joints. But also by my third tip, which is external support. So that is wearing any kind of a brace. That can be something as simple as like a very low profile push brace. So this one, I like this one because it's very low profile, because I know if you have something that is too thick, too big, too immobilizing, you're not going to wear it because you can't play, right? So you want something very minimalistic that can still support your thumb. So for this particular one, this is for your thumb CNC joint. So if you have that pain, and that's because when you are, you can wear it on either hand, but it will help prevent that kind of shift in that imbalance that I was talking about that can start happening in the thumb. So you get some nice external support. That's like an option, definitely. If your joints have a tendency to go into some hyper extension, like your fretting thumb is like pushing a lot and kind of going into that hyper extension, even small little braces like a ring, like an oval 8 ring, can really be helpful at help stabilizing, but still letting you, still allowing you to still use your thumb and your hand and still feel, right? Like you need to still be able to feel, and it not get in the way. And then of course, I'm a big believer of kinesiology tape and using tape, which allows for so much great movement, but still gives you a little bit of that stability, that you need. And you can apply as much or as little tape as you want, right? And you wear it for hours if you really needed to, get through a gig or something like that.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah. I mean, exercise, rest breaks, and then, using supports, because our fingers don't have a lot of muscle in them. So if your fingers go into a lot of hyperextension, sometimes little rings can help with that. And sometimes, little supports that still allow you to play can be very, very helpful.
Okay, so just a quick guitar player question. So obviously we can't wear rings while we're playing, you know, Maybe something on your thumb you might be able to get away
Yeah,
with, but
right.
any other fingers. So in those kind of situations, you would say when you're not playing, would those rings be a great option as well when you're not playing?
They definitely could be. If you are doing, similar activities where you notice like you're going into that kind of hyperextension, they that definitely can help. Any way that you can help that, especially if you do something outside of playing and then it flares up, it's probably going to flare up even more when you're playing guitar, right? So any way that you can reduce the aggravation to it. But a bonus tip is if you do play and you find that you can't, rings just don't work for you, or some of the other, you can't find something that works for you, there are therapists that specialize, there's performing art occupational therapists and hand therapists. If you can find one in your area, and actually if anybody needs one, they can always email me or reach out to me and I can try to help them, find one. But they specialize in making very, very small, customized types of braces or splints of various materials that they will make you something while you're actually holding the guitar or your instrument so that you can play, because they understand how important it is for you to continue to play. So custom probably would be a better option than just something off the shelf if you're, having trouble finding something.
That's great. And thank you. Some of the exercises that you gave me, I'll put links to, well, that I got from you that were similar to my hand therapist. I'll put the links to the ones where I kind of just the tendon glides.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So yeah, definitely I didn't go through tendon glides. That's a very common one that can be very helpful as a nice dynamic type of warm up where I always make sure too that I emphasize full extension because you're always flexing, right? So making sure you go through that full range of motion, full extension, and then making sure you're getting the mobility of the little joints by doing that hook fist. And then, yeah, going into that full fist just to get that full range of motion. So
Okay, I'll put a link to that video
definitely.
above here and down below so you can watch that one that I've found to be really helpful. So, other few quick questions before we go that I really appreciate your time. And please, everybody go check out Virtual Hand here. It's great. And you can tell what a energetic person Michelle is about this and really helpful. A few quick questions. When you look on the internet, you see a ton of stuff about arthritis, and these things are all caused by your diet. And there's take collagen and take all these things, or take turmeric and all these. Everybody's got a solution to this.
Right.
Um, and you and I discussed it, like I'm a healthy eater, always have been, and I think, well, I'll leave you to maybe kind of touch on some of those subjects if you can briefly, not without getting too deep into, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I had mentioned, we talked about that I'm a big believer of, you are what you eat. What you put in your body is definitely important. And if you eat a high diet with like a lot of preservatives and additives and sugars and things like that, I definitely think that your body will have an inflammatory type of process. And so I do think your diet is very important, but it's a big piece of the puzzle. Like you can do all these stretches and all these exercises and these tips, but you still need that diet component. You still need to, really focus on a healthier diet. And like I said, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, but they really can help you see if you are absorbing the right amount of foods and minerals, you're taking in what you need for bone health, because that is so important with arthritis as well, is to make sure you have good bone health. And with that, certain vitamins, minerals, and make sure your body's actually absorbing them too. So it's definitely a big part of it. I'm not like a big fad person. Like it's not gonna be like take turmeric and everything goes away. That's not the case, but it could be just a little piece of the puzzle of what.
Thanks. So just to recap, so the three things, the 3 points, can we run through them again, just real
Yeah,
fast?
yeah. So
Okay.
first tip is exercise. Within that is physical activity, so getting your heart rate up a little bit, and then stretching, which is adding a little bit of dynamic type of stretching, which continues to help you warm up. But then static stretching, like the two table stretches that I gave you, just to help really address any kind of joint stiffness and cramping and things that you might have in the hand. And then the second tip is rest breaks. Really set yourself a timer, across the room, somewhere where you have to actually get up to have, to not just your phone down by, where you'll just easily hit pause or stop. So every, 15 minutes, about every hour, if at all possible, just so that you can, because the anatomy of your hands need that, right? They need that break so that they can continue to play. And then the third tip was external support. So using something to help stabilize those little joints of the fingers and the thumb, something a little more low profile, like taping or a small brace or a ring, just so you can still continue to play. It won't get in the way, but it will help with, reducing that pain and strain on those joints.
Please tell us about your website and your business. And you have some wonderful courses that if somebody wants to work through 8-week programs that you offer as well, correct?
I do. I offer, so they can go to, if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at info at virtualhandcare.com. You can visit me at virtualhandcare.com. And I do actually have a couple of programs. I have a 30-day thumb arthritis training program. So it's actually a 1-month training program specifically for thumb arthritis, where I go into more specific stretches, more specific strengthening exercises, but also pain relieving tips, and also those hacks and ways that you can help care for your thumb so that you can slow down the progression of your thumb. And I do have a Get a Grip program, which is a finger and hand strengthening program as well. And I do, on occasion, I do a limited number of one-on-one consults too, for people that maybe need even a little bit more of a specialized plan. And, like I said, if anybody needs a more customized plan and they're looking for a very specific performing arts therapist, I do have some colleagues that I can also refer as well. So they can always reach out to me and I can, get them the information that they need.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. There'll be links below for everything that Michelle was talking about, her videos, her website, and I highly recommend you check them out. I can personally say she's helped me, whether she knew it or not, she's helped me quite a bit. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Michelle Coil. You can check out her links above or below. Go to Virtual Hand Care. She's got some great products if you want to work through hand health, and her YouTube channel is spectacular. All right, so the next time, I'm Jeff Mackerlane, and I will see you then.